Too often I hear the sentence, "I have always been this way," and every time I end up wondering, is maintaining the same really working for you? After all, the world around us is always changing, and so are we, sometimes without even noticing. Humans are, at their core, a collection of habits. These habits aren't permanent or set in stone, they're formed over time through repetition, choices, and the influence of our surroundings. And the beauty of this realization is that, just as habits are formed, they can also be reshaped, replaced, or refined. When people say, "This is just who I am," it often feels like a statement of resignation. But the truth is, who we are is not a fixed entity. Who we are today is the outcome of countless small decisions and actions, repeated over weeks, months, or even years. Habits shape our behavior, our personality, and ultimately how we experience life. Whether it's how we react to stress, how we approach new opportunities, or how we spend our evenings, these are largely patterns of habit, repeated until they become automatic. Our brains are wired for efficiency, which is why habits exist in the first place. Instead of deciding every day how to brush your teeth or how to respond to an email, you do it almost automatically. But this same mechanism, which is meant to save energy, can sometimes hold us back when we default to habits that are no longer helpful. The comforting familiarity of, "I've always been this way," can prevent us from changing, even when that change might lead to a better version of ourselves. The idea that humans are a collection of habits is powerful because it implies a choice. If we acknowledge that our actions, beliefs, and behaviors are habits, then we realize we have the power to alter them. The statement, "I have always been this way," becomes less a truth of our identity and more a reflection of habits that we can choose to change. It's empowering to understand that we are not bound by our past behaviors or the limitations we may have imposed on ourselves. But it's not always easy, of course. Habits, especially long-standing ones, feel like a second nature. Breaking them requires awareness, effort, and, importantly, patience. The process of change starts with questioning, asking ourselves, "Is this habit helping me or holding me back?" Sometimes it's as simple as recognizing that a habit, whether it's procrastinating, responding with impatience, or eating poorly, isn't serving us anymore. Once we're aware, the next step is deciding what we want to replace it with. For example, if you find yourself habitually avoiding tasks because they seem overwhelming, you could create a new habit of breaking those tasks into smaller, manageable pieces. By repeating this new approach consistently, it eventually becomes your new, default response. This way, change happens not because we force it once, but because we practice it until it becomes natural. Another thing to remember is that small changes add up. We don't need to revolutionize our lives overnight. Instead, focusing on shifting one habit at a time can lead to significant transformation over the long run. Just as our current habits weren't formed in a day, new ones will take time to settle in and become part of who we are. Imagine someone who has always thought of themselves as a night owl, someone who simply cannot wake up early and be productive in the morning. For years, this belief, reinforced by their habits, becomes their reality. But if they start slowly shifting their bedtime and morning routine, over time, they can become an early riser. It's not that their identity has changed overnight, rather, they've intentionally reshaped the collection of habits that made them believe they were always this way. The potential for change is an inherent part of being human. Our capacity to evolve, adapt, and grow is one of our greatest strengths. By understanding that we are essentially a collection of habits, we can better evaluate which ones to keep and which ones to change, enabling us to become the person we want to be. So, the next time you catch yourself thinking, "I've always been like this," pause and consider if that's really true. You have the ability to change your habits, and by doing so, change yourself. The world around us is always evolving, and so should we. There's nothing wrong with reevaluating who we are and deciding to take a different path. After all, life is a journey of growth, and every habit we change is a step toward becoming a better version of ourselves. Thank you, until next time.